Have you ever stared at the massive pile of cash the financial gurus say you need to finally quit your job and just thought, no way? Well, today we're unpacking a massive shortcut. We're diving into the ultimate cheat code for the financial independence retire early or FIRE movement. We're going to break down a strategy that completely flips traditional spreadsheet wealth on its head by drastically lowering your baseline expenses.
Look, if you plug your current living expenses into a standard early retirement calculator, it's probably going to spit out a hugely demoralizing target. For a lot of us, that number sits comfortably over $2, maybe even $3 million. And honestly, staring down a number that huge is exactly why so many people just throw their hands up and give up on financial independence altogether. It feels like climbing Everest in flip-flops. But here's the thing. The real issue might not actually be how much you're saving. It's the hidden assumptions built into what you plan on spending.
So the real culprit causing this absolutely massive, intimidating number is a super dangerous assumption about our baseline expenses. When we plan for retirement, we just naturally assume our current expenses will stay exactly the same forever. We think, we'll always have a car payment, or we'll always be paying off something. But most dangerously, we assume that our biggest single expense, that bloated 30-year mortgage, will always be a mandatory part of our baseline budget. And dragging this massive monthly liability into your work optional years, it literally forces you to work a decade longer than you actually have to. You're basically tethering yourself to this huge required cash flow just to keep a roof over your head. It's the exact trap that keeps people stuck in a cubicle way, way past the point where they could have walked away. Which brings us to Section 1, the $3 million trap. Why standard retirement math feels impossible. Moving right along to Section 2, the invest the difference myth, the standard spreadsheet logic of early retirement. Now, if you hang around FIRE circles long enough, you're definitely going to hear a very loud, very common argument. The standard logic says that a mortgage is incredibly cheap debt, so you should stretch it out as long as humanly possible and invest the extra cash you would have put towards the house straight into the stock market. And hey, mathematically, on a totally clean spreadsheet, this logic actually holds up. The market usually beats low-interest debt over the long haul. But keeping a massive mortgage into retirement introduces two huge risks that a spreadsheet literally cannot calculate: massive emotional risk and sequence of returns risk, meaning the very real, very terrifying possibility that the stock market takes a nosedive right at the exact moment you retire. Just think about the reality of that for a second. If your investments absolutely plummet early in your retirement, you're still legally on the hook to hand the bank thousands of dollars every single month. You might even be forced to sell off your investments at rock-bottom prices just to make your mortgage payment. Ouch, right? So it creates this incredible tension. Would you rather rely on spreadsheet wealth bouncing around in a volatile stock market, or have 100% guaranteed peace of mind, knowing absolutely no one can take your home away? Okay, Section 3, the new housing baseline, lowering your mandatory monthly expenses. To actually de-risk early retirement, building a safer path means focusing heavily on lowering your mandatory monthly expenses. It's all about shrinking the footprint of what you literally must pay just to survive. Take this real-world case study of an ex-tech engineer living super comfortably in a high-cost area near New York City. Look at how their total budget of under $5,000 a month breaks down. Because they completely own their foundation, meaning zero mortgages are involved, their mandatory housing baseline is practically wiped out. They only pay property taxes and homeowners insurance, which comes to just $858 a month. That is only 17.5% of their budget. This leaves massive room for organic groceries, kids' activities, and a super generous $1,400 monthly fund budget. Think about it like this. Eliminating your mortgage payment entirely is essentially the fastest, most effective way to give yourself a massive, guaranteed $2,500 a month pay raise in early retirement. The exact day you own your home outright, it fundamentally changes your life's trajectory, simply because that is cash flow you no longer have to sweat to generate from your investments. Let's look at Section 4, visualizing the 4% rule, calculating the real cost of your mortgage. We can easily map this logic using the classic 4% rule, which, as we know, is the holy grail of early retirement planning. The rule basically states you can safely withdraw 4% of your total investment portfolio every year to cover living expenses without going broke. When you actually map this out, the math is mind-blowing. If your current mortgage is $2,000 a month, well, that costs you $24,000 a year. To safely generate that $24K using the 4% rule, you need an additional $600,000 invested in your portfolio strictly to pay the bank.
Now, check out that bottom row. If your mortgage is $3,000 a month, you need an extra $900,000 in the stock market just to cover your housing. That's almost $1 million. The stark reality here is that paying off a $300,000 mortgage balance literally slashes nearly $1 million off your required finish line. So, aggressively eliminating housing debt isn't just about saving interest. It creates this multi-layered defense system for your life. It drastically slashes your required portfolio size, which can literally buy back a decade of your working life. It builds the ultimate fortress against economic downturns and completely wipes out sequence of returns risk. Plus, by locking in your housing costs early, it protects you against inflation. And maybe best of all, it shifts your entire mindset from a place of fear and scarcity to one of absolute abundance and control. Which leads us to Section 5, reclaiming your financial foundation, shifting from scarcity to absolute abundance. Walking into early retirement completely mortgage-free proves a wildly empowering point. You do not need a massive tech salary or a $10 million portfolio to be truly free. You really just need to fully own your foundation, because once your foundation is secure, the amount of money you actually need to survive just plummets. This whole approach comes down to one really powerful thought. While the invest the difference spreadsheet math totally makes sense on paper, we are human beings, right? We're not algorithms. The psychology of knowing the bank can never, ever take your home away, that raw peace of mind, that is what actually allows early retirees to sleep soundly at night, even when the economy is going crazy. So, based on the numbers, the real-world case studies, and the profound emotional risks we've explored in this explainer, where do you stand? Are you team leverage debt, trying to maximize those spreadsheet returns? Or are you team paid off house, going for absolute peace of mind? Think carefully about it. Which strategy is actually going to help you engineer your own escape route?